to me, one of the things he said to me, not just once, but at that young age and throughout, that he had the greatest fans in the world. And I swear that God is my witness, he said that to me. And he had a few albums that he had in Germany of fans who sent them their picture. And he had them all put in albums, and he showed me from Germany, from Spain, from Argentina, from Japan, from England, all over, like 3 or 4 books. And I thought, God, that's just, as a young girl, I really didn't know that there were fans and things like that. I didn't know that, you know, with all the support that you gave to people that you cared for and loved. I was thrown into the world of rock and roll at such a young age, but still, you know, for him to show emotionally how much he cared. And he was in Germany thinking that he'd be forgotten, that he was taken away from the music that he loved and the career that he wanted to be in, to join, of course, and be in the Army. Not join, he was drafted. But the one thing that he had hoped was that his fans would still be there when he came home. And he wasn't quite sure, so he kept those books with him. And he said, I just hope they stay with me. And he continued that, not just then, but when, of course, I lived at Graceland and throughout our marriage, and even after. So here's living proof that you are still there for him, and I just wanted you to know how much he appreciated all of you. So thank you. Thank you.
And I would just like to add one personal note. This is such an honor to have this lady here, and I just want to say, and I think I can probably speak for all our fans out here, we thank you from the bottom of our heart for keeping Elvis's memory and legacy alive. And if it wasn't for you, these fans wouldn't get an opportunity to know the man more than just the music and the artist, but to actually know the incredible spiritual and giving man that Elvis Presley really was. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rosemary.
As Elvis prepared for his last tour, that would start in Portland, Maine on August the 17th, it was clear that he had no choice but to perform. Elvis had turned into the Colonel's own cash cow.
I suppose the most important thing in a person's life is happiness. I mean, not worldly things, because gee whiz, I mean, you can have cars, you can have money, you can have a fabulous home, you can have everything. If you're not happy, what have you got?
Before Elvis Presley wanted to be a singer, he wanted to be in law enforcement. By 1970, Elvis had received many honorary and real law enforcement credentials and was convinced that he had unique services he could offer his country.
He had he was a bonded deputy with the Memphis police. He was connected with, what was it, the Denver police in Colorado.
Yes.
In December of 1970, Elvis flew to Washington, D.C., writing a letter en route to then-President Richard Nixon. Dear Mr. President, first, I would like to introduce myself. I am Elvis Presley, and admire you, and have great respect for your office. I talked to Vice President Agnew in Palm Springs 1 week ago, and expressed my concerns for our country. The drug culture, the hippie elements, the SDS, Black Panther, etc., do not consider me as their enemy, or as they call it, the establishment. I call it America, and I love it. Sir, I can and will be of any service that I can to help the country out. I can and will do more good if I remain a federal agent at large. I am on the plane with Senator George Murphy, and we have been discussing the problems that our country is faced with. So I am staying at the Washington Hotel. I am registered under the name of John Burroughs. I will be here for as long as it takes to get the credentials of a federal agent. In this letter, Elvis volunteered to become a federal agent. After the letter arrived at the White House, some of Nixon's aides debated whether it would be in the president's interest to meet with Presley. Here is the memo that decided the issue. Nixon took the advice and decided to meet with Elvis to give him the credentials he wanted. Elvis got his wish, a presidential appointment as a secret DEA agent, it has been verified that Elvis allowed an undercover agent to infiltrate his road crew from 1974 to 1976. What was that secret agent investigating? Nobody will say for sure. At this same time, Elvis had become immersed in writings dealing with human spirituality and religion. Perhaps the most widely known entertainer in the world, Elvis was able to keep both of these sides of his personality a secret to the general public. His spiritual side he kept secret because he wanted to. His undercover life he kept secret because he had to.
Because of this affiliation that Elvis had with government agencies, because of these death threats, and the fact that this agent traveled as one of his band members, that lead us to believe that the strong possibility exists he may very well be a part of the witness protection program.
Monty Nicholson is an investigator for the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. In 1977, Monty was contacted by a man who claimed he worked for Elvis. He also claimed to have taken 2 photos of Elvis boarding a helicopter with government agents after the time of his alleged death. Upon seeing the photos, Monty became intrigued by the possibility that Elvis may have faked his death.
And I've been an investigator for 10 of the last 18 years that I've been a policeman, and I know that my powers of perception and reason are working very well. My sources tell me that in March of 1977, a full 3 months before Elvis died, he cashed in 3 life insurance policies for just shy of $2 million. Shortly after his death, fact number 2, there was a checking account, a private checking account, with an excess of $1 million that vanished and has not been explained as yet. Third fact, there's still a remaining insurance policy that is yet to be cashed. What is the significance of this? It's just this. The 3 life insurance policies that were cashed were paid up. There's no fraud involved. Those life insurance policies are owned by the insured. The third policy, or the remaining policy I should say, was not paid up. If a surviving heir would cash in that policy and the person who was insured were still alive, that would be insurance fraud.
Now, do these FBI documents ever mention anything that suggests that Elvis Presley did not die August 17th, 1977? Luke, I put that to you.
Well, when you closely examine those documents, we can find numerous notation and correction that has been made in what I believe is Elvis's handwriting. And I think that I'm almost positive that Elvis Presley continued his involvement in Operation Fountain Pen for several years after his alleged death.
Okay. Now, we brought these documents to handwriting analyst Paul Wiest.
We have Frederick N. Prohl, et al. Elvis A. Presley, deceased victim. This little circle down here and this cross indicates that written above to change it and correct it. Frederick Peter Prohl. This handwriting was compared with known handwriting of Elvis Presley, and it matches very, very closely.
All right. What about the one that says to Memphis?
All right, this is the one that says to Memphis here. And this is also references Frederick Peter Prohl, Elvis Presley, deceased, victim. And down here on the bottom, we see 0.73 to Memphis, 8/15/78. I have compared this to known handwriting of Elvis Presley's and find that this also matches very, very favorably.
All right. Now, what about the issue that Elvis Presley signed his own death certificate?
He didn't sign it. This was signed by the medical examiner down here.
All right.
But the name right on here, the street address is 3764 Elvis Presley Boulevard. That, I believe, is also over here under occupation entertainer. They both match up very closely to known handwriting.
All of it was, in your professional opinion, Elvis Presley's handwriting?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Now, Paul's findings were corroborated by handwriting analyst Sheila Lowe. Now, Ms. Lowe is qualified by the California Supreme Court as an expert witness in document examination. We asked Ms. Lowe to compare 10 pages of questionable handwriting notations made in the estate of Elvis Presley inventory dated December 19th, 1977. Under penalty of perjury, Ms. Lowe issued the following opinion, and I quote, that the handwriting on all documents was executed by the same writer.
We know he was a DEA agent, and most probably he was involved in working on his own investigation.
At this point, I think that we should summarize what we've learned so far.
On August 16th, protect himself and his family from a criminal organization called the Fraternity, Elvis Presley arranged things to look as if he had died. He accomplished this with the help of the Department of Justice by somehow planting either a wax dummy or another body at Graceland. Elvis's cousin, Gene Smith, felt he had to personally say goodbye.
When we viewed the body for the last time, I stood there quite a while looking at his hands. And, of course, he was always breaking bricks with his hands. He had calluses on the bottom of his hand, and big old rough-looking knuckles. His nose looked kind of puggy looking, and his right sideburn was sticking out, straight out looked about an inch. And his hairline looked as if it had been a hairpiece, something glued on somewhere. It just didn't look right. And his hands was just as smooth as a newborn's baby's behind, you know. And it seemed like it was sweating around his hairline. It could have been sweat, it could have been glue, I don't know. But I just didn't believe it was him.
I'm sure that you are. There's more than one car with stickers on, and lots of young guys wear corduroy pants, and I'd know